Alright. Quinton, how do you become a route setter? Do you just have to be very good and experienced climber, or do you need a diploma in route setting as well? I've got my diploma right here.
It's a good question. I don't really know how to answer it. At the moment, the best thing you can probably do if you want to give it a go is to go to your gym that you climb at and just keep nagging the head setter until they give you a shot, and prove that you have something to bring to the team. Like, we don't always pick people who are like the best setters, but they're like people with great ideas and great to work with and a lot of fun, and that's really appealing, I think, for a team. And being a team player, that's like massive.
Cam Adams, how do you approach setting a climb? I assume you have some language that describes it in sections and what you want to do.
The preferred language is Klingon. It all depends on how your mind, like how you process things.
Each setter probably has their own different approach.
Sometimes I just throw stuff on the wall.
Some like to get holds on the wall and then shift them around.
Sometimes I like to paint pretty pictures with holds.
Others prefer to try and visualize the whole boulder problem before they start.
It can get pretty experimental sometimes.
Your job, mainly, the most important thing you do when you start creating a climb is to create a concept. Like, what do we want to express to the climber? What do we want them to learn? And what do we want them to feel? Like, you want them to have a fun experience or type 2 fun experience sometimes.
So Ben Banks wants to know, do you plan problems in advance or decide on problems once the wall is blank?
There's lots of different ways to do it. Sometimes you're just lying in bed at night and something comes to you, you're like, what if?
Sometimes it can get a little bit abstract and a little bit weird, but it's always really fun to see sort of what each person can come up with on any day.
Most of the time, the inspiration comes from when we look at the constraints we have to work with on the day. So when we have the blank wall, so we look at the wall, the holds, the volumes, and the minds that we have to work with.
And we basically plan out where each color fits in on the wall so that the whole set works really well together.
We also look around the gym as well to see what we already have, grade, style, complexity, intensity, the risk of the boulders, and we try to go, well, let's not do that again, let's bring something else. So.
Jodie Bell, do you check each other's work to make sure there isn't a sneaky, easy workaround on your problem? Absolutely.
Like a fundamental part of what we're doing throughout the day. It's a case of set some climbs, get together, and look at what we call test or forerun the climbs.
Quite often it's someone's responsibility when we're in that testing phase, the forerunning, to just be like breaking the sequence of the route setter. So that's a pretty fun job. We have one particular individual who's very good at it, and he's basically employed just to break things. His name is Mitchell the Bearcat. He's very, very effective, great to work with. We're very lucky to have him. What makes the grade? Is it size of the holes, distance between them, combination? Or do you just throw stuff up and move it until it feels right? I'm not even sure anymore.
It's kind of a mixture of how hard the moves are to do.
How hot it is, how dirty is that climb going to get.
You can also factor in the risk of doing the move. Risk meaning, what are the chances that you're going to fall off doing the move, even though you might know how to do it. So it might be like a jump, or it might be a coordination move, it might be a slab that requires a lot of tension and balance.
More important for us on the day is trying to make sure we have a good progression of grades. So something that feels the easiest, and then the next one would feel a bit harder all the way up and through until you have what feels the hardest on the day. But what feels hard, again, it's totally based on what your strengths are as well.
Alright, this one's from Nelson Johnston. Is there typically one sneaky route that belongs in the next grade up? For example, for those people who think they can only do greens. Yeah, this is actually something we've really been focusing on recently.
Nelson, you're on it.
It's a very good question.
Part of our goal as a setting team is to make sure that you have the ability to not come up against I guess like a hard wall for your progression. So we want to make sure there's a good amount of overlap between the colors.
If you're climbing every purple, from the bottom end, you're climbing basically a purple that's as easy as a blue, all the way up to a purple which is as hard as an easy green. So if you can climb every purple in a gym, you can climb at least one green in that same gym, ideally. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Alright, so this one's from Corey Batten, and it's what's the beta for the white on the 45?
I just think you need to do some more pull-ups, probably, Corey.
Get stronger, Corey. This one is from Matthew Hall. I'm curious to know about the average height and arm span of the route setters. It's interesting to come across both climbs that I can abuse my reach on and also climbs that I can barely squeeze into.
Maybe Jane's got the smallest wingspan, but the rest of us have pretty wide arms. I'm plus 11.
Pretty sure Sam's got an extra foot arm span compared to me.
There you go.
Just the luck of the draw. Some things are hard for tall people.
Life's boring when you're tall, don't you think?
Alright.
Arturo, first off, thank you for keeping it fresh week after week. You're welcome.
But hey, when can we expect a friend problem to appear?
Next question.
That's a good point. Soon.
Boulder Fest or one of the social comps would be my best bet.
If you keep asking, it'll probably happen. And it looks like 7 people have liked this comment, so as much as Pat Bandit doesn't like friend problems, he's probably going to have to step up.
Mario asks, what is your preferred style of climbing and why do slab climbs not get enough love?
What do you mean slab climbs don't get enough love?
I don't know why people don't like slab climbs. I love slab climbing.
I actually really like slab climbing.
You get frustrated very easily on a slab, at least I do, but it also makes it best when you send it. I kind of enjoy everything. I do really enjoy jumping.
And little crimps. I like really tiny crimps.
Nathan Q asks, how do you suit climbs to as many demographics as possible, mainly short/tall? We always try to make sure that it's roughly the same grade to do no matter how tall or short you are, but it's never going to be totally even. That's what makes climbing great. I mean, you have tall people who can reach past stuff, but they're also going to be heavy when they hit a small crimp or sometimes get really bunched up. So
The way I do it, the process that goes into it is around having a specific person in mind, whether that's actually someone who exists in real life or just like a persona of the person that you create in your head. You might say, I'm setting this for someone who is of short stature, who is maybe a teenager. They're really good at moving on the wall, but maybe they're not particularly strong. And by keeping those constraints in mind, once you've set the climb and you're in that forerunning testing process, you can imagine how they would interact with the climb, and then in that process you find out whether or not it's suitable, and you can change gears again at the same time and go, okay, now I'm going to put something else in my head around a super powerful climber who's 6'7". How are they going to interact with this problem? Will they skip a sequence? Will it become far more difficult for either of those two people? And by running through those personas in your head and then doing that process of visualizing how they're interacting with the problem, that's how you get the best results.
Alex asks, how do you let your personality show on a route?
Oh man, this is a pretty nice question. I think the thing is that we're encouraged to let our personality show on a route. I love when like Mitchie comes to bring like what he loves about like problems or a climb, and when Johnny comes and brings his like crazy thoughts for like really dynamic or coordinated movements. Like everyone has like probably like a style that they find easy to set and they love like expressing to the climbers, and we're encouraged to do that, which is awesome. What's really important as my job is to make sure that all of that equals like a nice balanced wall at the end of the day, and that you get a little bit of everything, a good variety. But no, we're really lucky to have a team where people like so much like different stuff and diversity.
I like making my routes really evil like me.